For our friends and family in New Orleans, if there's any bit of good news, it's that today, forecasting temperatures in the upper 80s under mostly sunny skies. In the meantime, check out your screen. Fox Weather, of course, your Hurricane HQ. Check it in on parts of the eastern Pacific. We have another tropical storm. It's named Ileana, making landfall yesterday in the northern Baja California state of Mexico, leaving streets completely flooded and swamped. And look at all that mud, too, that folks in Los Cabos, Mexico, had to fight through. Intense rain likely today as the storm is expected to weaken as it moves further north along the peninsula right here. But here's the thing, though. Obviously, we're thinking to ourselves, as it moves north, it's getting a little closer to the United States, right? Currently, that movement at about 5 to 10 miles per hour with winds at 40 miles per hour. It's the moisture plume from our tropical storm that's basically going to work up this channel in spots, and as it does so, that's called the Gulf of California. By the way, it will significantly weaken. However, there will still be an abundance of moisture with this system as it works through. So from Cabo San Lucas, where they have a beautiful arch, if you've ever been out that way, there are tropical storm warnings that are still in effect. You can also see tropical storm watches that are in effect. That's shaded in that yellow coloring. As that moisture plume works up toward the north, we're actually expecting it to have influences here in the United States. Unfortunately, that moisture plume is not going to work far enough west to really influence those wildfires in California. It's the unfortunate part. However, parts of Tucson to Phoenix, Arizona, we're talking about ongoing showers, perhaps even thunderstorms. And when you start talking about that type of moisture, Kendall, over a desert area like Phoenix, Maricopa County, we could be talking about some flood issues in the days to come as that tropical moisture, again, works over parts of the Four Corners state. So a lot that we're going to be keeping our eyes on, especially to kick off this upcoming work week.